Tell me this isn't happening. Victor Langston's voice cut through the hallway like a blade. Doctors looked up. A nurse froze mid-step. The uniformed officers flanking Danielle Brooks instinctively stepped to the side. Victor stormed toward them, his eyes locked on the woman in cuffs. You stole my Ferrari? Danielle's uniform clung to her like wet paper. Her hair was matted to her scalp. Her hands were cuffed tightly behind her, and a dried smear of vomit stained her left sleeve. But her gaze didn't move. It stayed fixed on the trauma room doors down the hallway. Victor pointed directly at her face. You broke the garage lock? Took the keys? You drove through the city like a damn maniac? Danielle didn't blink. You cracked the fender, scratched the doors, blew out the front suspension. Do you even know what carbon fiber like that costs? She wasn't breathing, Danielle said. Victor's voice rose. You are a maid. A cleaner. You are not her mother. Not her doctor. Not even authorized to open the garage. Danielle turned her head toward him, slowly. And you are her father. Where were you? The hallway fell silent. The officer beside her cleared his throat, uncomfortable. I walked into her room, Danielle said, voice low and even. She was on the floor. Her skin was gray. She had vomited. Her lips were blue. The intercom didn't work. The landline was dead. My cell had no signal. You could have called for help, Victor snapped. You could have found a guard. I did, she cut in. It took them 6 minutes just to find the guard station unlocked. Victor narrowed his eyes. They told me to wait for the ambulance. Dispatch said 14 minutes, she continued. I knew she didn't have that long. Victor scoffed. So you took my car? I took what was fast. What could save her? You took what didn't belong to you. Danielle nodded. And I'd do it again. The trauma room doors opened. A doctor in green scrubs stepped out, wiping his hands. Mr. Langston? Victor turned sharply. That's me. Your daughter's stable. Oxygen saturation's coming back. If she had arrived a few minutes later, she might have gone into cardiac arrest. Victor went quiet. She's conscious now, the doctor added. First thing she asked for was the woman who brought her in. He turned to Danielle and gave a slight nod. We don't know how she made it that fast, but she did. Victor looked at Danielle again. Her uniform was filthy. Her arms still trembling. But her stare hadn't wavered. You want to press charges? The officer beside her asked. Victor didn't answer. His jaw clenched, but no words came. Danielle finally spoke. I'll give my statement. But not until I see the girl. The officer hesitated, then uncuffed her wrists. Danielle stepped forward. She didn't look back. Victor didn't stop her. Because in that moment even he knew. That car wasn't what saved his daughter. She was. 3 days earlier, the Langston estate stood silent under a gray morning sky. Danielle Brooks moved through the grand hallway without a sound. Her shoes made no noise against the marble floor. Her hands, gloved and practiced, folded linens and dusted banisters with precision. She had been trained to disappear. The rule was clear. Efficient, not emotional. Present, not seen. Danielle didn't complain. She didn't linger. She had lasted over 3 years here, longer than any other maid before her. The last one had been dismissed for serving orange juice with pulp. She had no interest in being next. As she passed the sitting room, she adjusted a throw pillow that hadn't been touched. The furniture gleamed. The windows stretched 2 stories high. The fireplace hadn't been lit in weeks. Everything in the house was immaculate and cold. Then a voice called out from upstairs. Miss Danielle, where's my blue bunny blanket? It was Aria. Danielle's posture softened. I'm bringing it now, sweetheart, she called back gently, folding a towel into her laundry cart and heading up the servants' stairs. If the estate was a machine, Aria Langston was its only heartbeat. At 7 years old, she had the kind of honesty money hadn't yet drowned. She liked pancakes, cartoons, and asking questions that made the butlers nervous. And she loved Danielle. Danielle knocked once on the door before entering the child's suite. The room was the size of a small apartment. A velvet armchair faced a balcony. Shelves lined the walls, mostly for display. Aria's real toys were always under the bed or tucked inside a blanket fort. This morning, Aria was wrapped in one such fort, her curls wild, her cheeks flushed. "I need the bunny one," she said seriously. "Not the unicorn. The bunny's for when I'm sad." Danielle paused. "You're sad?" Aria looked down. "Daddy didn't come home last night." Danielle said nothing. Victor Langston rarely came home before midnight. Often not at all. When he was there, he took calls through dinner. He answered emails while Aria practiced piano. He had a way of being in the room without being there. Danielle handed her the soft blue blanket. "Want me to braid your hair?" Aria nodded immediately. Danielle sat behind her on the rug and began gently parting the strands. "Can I tell you a secret?" Aria whispered. "Of course. You're nicer than all the nannies." Danielle smiled. "Don't let the others hear you say that." "I won't," Aria said, leaning back against her knees. "They don't listen anyway." Danielle didn't respond. But she knew the truth behind that comment. The nannies rotated in shifts. Most lasted less than a month. Some didn't even learn Aria's middle name. Danielle knew everything. She knew Aria hated the texture of mango but loved its smell. That loud footsteps upstairs scared her. That she liked the smell of clean sheets, the sound of cello and cinnamon toast, though it wasn't on the menu. That morning, as Danielle finished Aria's braids, she noticed something else. The child's face was paler than usual. Her skin, usually warm with color, had a faint dullness to it. There was a sheen of sweat at her hairline. She yawned twice in the span of a minute. "You tired?" Danielle asked softly. Aria nodded. "I felt dizzy last night. And this morning my tummy hurts." Danielle pressed her hand to the girl's forehead. "I'll bring up your breakfast," she said. "And I'll ask the nurse to stop by." But the nurse didn't answer her call. The intercom in the staff hall was broken again. And when Danielle passed by the main kitchen, the head chef waved her off. "She'll be fine," he said. "Probably allergies. The doctor's coming Friday." Danielle said nothing, but her eyes didn't stop watching. By noon, Aria hadn't left her room. She didn't want lunch. She was curled up in bed with the blanket pulled over her head. Danielle returned after finishing laundry. She brought a tray, toast, a boiled egg, and half a cup of tea. Nothing sugary. Nothing heavy. She sat on the edge of the bed and touched the girl's arm. Aria didn't move. Her breathing was shallow. Her lips were pale. Her fingers, when Danielle touched them, were cold. Danielle's heart dropped. She reached for the wall intercom. Still dead. Her phone was in the laundry room, too far. She grabbed the room's landline, static. She didn't wait. She threw open the door and ran down the hallway toward the servants' stairwell. "Help," she called, knocking on the butler's door. "Aria needs help." The butler answered slowly, still buttoning his shirt. "What's going on?" "She collapsed. Call 911. He blinked. "I need to ask Mr. Langston. Protocol says." Danielle didn't wait. She sprinted toward the garage. She didn't stop to think about the cameras, or the fact that the Langstons' garage wasn't part of her clearance level. She swiped her badge anyway. To her surprise, the door clicked open. Inside was a lineup of luxury. A Rolls-Royce, a McLaren, and in the center, low and gleaming, the red Ferrari. The keys were behind glass. She picked up the fire extinguisher and smashed the case. The alarm didn't ring. She took the fob, ran back inside, wrapped Aria in a blanket, and lifted her gently into her arms. As she buckled the child into the passenger seat, she whispered, "You stay with me, baby. Just stay awake." She turned the engine. It roared like thunder. She reversed, hit the gate button, and slammed the gas. The car fishtailed before gripping. In the mirror, she saw the butler run out, waving his arms. Danielle didn't slow down. She had 12 minutes to beat 14. And only one child to save. Danielle sat on a plastic chair outside the ICU room, her clothes stiff from dried sweat, arms crossed tightly, ignoring the stairs. The hallway buzzed with soft footsteps, pagers beeping, low murmurs from the nursing station. But her focus never left the small glass window in the door. Behind it, Aria lay pale and motionless under white sheets, an oxygen mask over her nose. Electrodes on her chest. A monitor flashing quiet rhythms. Victor Langston stood on the opposite side of the bed, hands in his pockets. Phone forgotten. For once, he wasn't checking emails. A nurse opened the door and stepped out. "She's stabilized," she told Danielle quietly. "Vitals are improving. Doctor says you can see her now." Danielle stood, slow and stiff. "She's been asking for you," the nurse added. "Only you." Danielle stepped in. Victor turned as the door opened. He didn't speak, just watched. Aria's head tilted weakly toward the sound. Her eyes lit up faintly. "Miss Danielle." Danielle approached the bed and knelt beside it. "Hey, baby girl," she said softly. "I'm here." Aria tried to lift her hand. Danielle took it gently. "I was cold," Aria whispered. Then it was dark. "You're safe now," Danielle said. "You're not alone." Victor shifted beside them, his expression unreadable. "She's been quiet until now." "She doesn't like hospitals," Danielle said without looking at him. "She had bronchitis last year. You were in Shanghai." Victor said nothing. The monitor beeped steadily. "I didn't know she was that sick," he said finally. "Nobody told me." Danielle turned her head slightly. "She told me." He didn't respond. A doctor stepped in, holding a tablet. Mid-40s, confident posture, serious tone. "Mr. Langston, we've run the initial tests," he said. "Your daughter has an underlying respiratory condition, possibly genetic. It was likely triggered by an undiagnosed allergic reaction." "Food?" Victor asked. "Not food. Could be mold. Chemical exposure. We'll test the environment at home." Danielle tensed. "There's something else," the doctor continued. "Without rapid oxygen intervention, she was about 2 minutes from cardiac risk." Victor looked down at Aria. "So you're saying she almost?" "Yes," the doctor said. "If she hadn't arrived when she did." He didn't finish the sentence. Victor turned slowly toward Danielle. "I still don't condone what you did," he said quietly. Danielle met his eyes. "I didn't do it for you." The doctor glanced between them. "She'll need rest. And someone she trusts nearby." "She has me," Victor said automatically. Aria gripped Danielle's hand tighter. The silence said enough. The doctor nodded once and left. Victor exhaled, hands at his waist. "The staff at home. Why didn't anyone report this earlier?" Danielle stood. "Because no one listens. The intercom has been broken for weeks. The nurse is barely there. You're never home. And when I speak, no one hears me." Victor's jaw tightened. "She told the chef she felt sick yesterday," Danielle continued. "He said allergies. The butler told me to file a maintenance request. The guards laughed when I asked for help." "I pay them to be competent," Victor muttered. "No," Danielle corrected. "You pay them to obey. There's a difference." Before he could reply, a nurse stepped in. "Mr. Langston, you have media outside asking questions." Channel 6 already ran a headline, "Maid races supercar to save billionaire's daughter." Victor blinked. "What?" "They have footage. Security cam from the hospital driveway. And someone must have leaked the garage entry video." Danielle looked down at Aria. She was asleep again. Victor turned to her. "You didn't do this for attention, did you?" Danielle's voice was cold. "I did it because I didn't want to bury a child." Another pause. Victor rubbed the bridge of his nose. "This is a PR disaster." Danielle looked him straight in the eye. "Then spin it. But don't erase what happened." He looked like he wanted to say something else. But the nurse returned. "Media's not backing down, sir. They want a statement." Victor hesitated, then looked at Danielle again. "Stay with her," he said. Danielle nodded once. "I was never leaving." Victor Langston stood just beyond the glass doors of the his jaw clenched as cameras flashed outside like a lightning storm. Reporters lined the sidewalk. Microphones extended over the barricade. Boom mics hovered like vultures. "Is it true the maid stole the Ferrari? Can we confirm the daughter's condition? Has Langston Enterprises issued a statement?" Security held them back, but barely. Inside, Victor's assistant ran up, tablet in hand. "It's already trending." Hashtag Ferrari rescue. The footage is viral, 4 million views in the last hour. Victor didn't blink. A man in a gray suit approached briskly, Langston Enterprises' chief legal counsel, Stephen Chow. Impeccably dressed, already annoyed. Victor, we need to talk, now. They ducked into a side consultation room. Stephen dropped a folder on the table. Damage control, he said. This woman, Danielle Brooks, broke multiple laws. Grand theft auto. Trespassing. Endangering a minor. We need to press charges immediately. Victor folded his arms. She saved my daughter's life. Stephen didn't flinch. And in doing so, made you look negligent. The press loves it. Cold billionaire ignores sick daughter. Brave black maid risks it all. That's the story they're pushing. She was sick, Victor muttered. Stephen raised an eyebrow. Victor, you didn't even know she was ill. This narrative destroys your image. And if we don't show control, legal control, you look weak. You're the man who got outsmarted by a maid. Victor looked toward the window. She didn't outsmart me. Doesn't matter. It looks like she did. Another assistant peeked in. Sir, Channel 6 is setting up live. They're citing public interest. Stephen added, do not give a statement until we review options. My advice? You hold a press conference. Denounce her actions. Then let us handle the prosecution quietly. Victor sat down slowly, fingers steepled. He saw again the way Arya had reached for Danielle's hand. The way she hadn't reacted to his voice, but had opened her eyes the moment Danielle entered the room. That look wasn't fear. It was trust. And it wasn't his. Stephen leaned forward. You built your reputation on precision. On control. This, he pointed to the tablet, is chaos. Victor stood up. Where's the footage? The assistant tapped and played the clip. Hospital security camera. The Ferrari skidding to a stop. Doors flung open. Danielle jumping out, cradling a child wrapped in a blue blanket. Her face pale with panic. Arya limp in her arms. She didn't wait for help. She ran. She shouted. She pushed through doors. She screamed for oxygen. Victor swallowed hard. Stephen said flatly, it's emotionally compelling, which makes it dangerous. Outside the window, the crowd was growing. Protest signs now joined the press. One read, she's a hero, not a thief. Victor turned toward the hallway. Stephen stepped in front of him. If you don't press charges, you open the door to lawsuits. What if she crashes again next time? What precedent are you setting? Victor's voice was calm. The precedent that sometimes breaking rules saves lives. Stephen stared at him. You've gone soft. Victor opened the door without responding. Back in the hallway, he passed two nurses whispering. Did you see the footage? She carried that child like it was her own. Langston's lucky she was there. Victor walked past them all, his expression unreadable. He reached the ICU door and hesitated. Inside, Danielle was sitting beside Arya, reading softly from a children's book. The little girl was half asleep, her fingers curled into Danielle's sleeve. Victor watched for a moment, then knocked gently and entered. Danielle looked up. Her body tensed, but she didn't stand. Victor closed the door behind him. I'm not here to argue, he said. Danielle didn't speak. I saw the video, he continued. You ran into that you're like it was on fire. She was dying, Danielle said softly. I know. He took a seat across from her. I've had my lawyers breathing down my neck, he said. They want to prosecute. Make an example out of you. I figured, Danielle said calmly. But I didn't come in here to scare you. I came in to say... He paused. Thank you. Danielle blinked. Victor's voice softened. You did something I didn't. You saw her. You listened. You acted. Danielle looked down at Arya. She doesn't have many people who do. Victor sat back. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then he asked, if I dropped the charges, what would you do? Danielle didn't look surprised. Go back to work. Pay off my mom's hospital bills. Maybe finish nursing school. She told me you were in school before. Top of my class. Had to drop out when my mother got cancer. Victor nodded slowly. You still want to be a nurse? I still am one, Danielle replied. Just not on paper. He looked at her, really looked, and this time, didn't see the uniform. He saw the person. Rest for now, he said. Stay with her. He stood and reached for the door. And Danielle? She looked up. No more Ferraris, he said. Danielle's lips lifted faintly. No promises if she's in trouble. Victor left without another word. But this time, he left the door open behind him. The morning sun filtered through the blinds of Aria's hospital room, painting thin golden lines across the floor. Danielle shifted in the chair beside the bed, her back stiff from sleeping upright. She blinked awake, fingers still wrapped loosely around Aria's hand. The little girl was breathing steadily now, her cheeks no longer ghost pale. Danielle gently sat up straighter and glanced around. Then she froze. Victor Langston was there, sitting in the corner, coffee in one hand, a paper bag in the other. You've been here all night? She asked. He nodded. So have you? He stood and walked over, holding out the bag. Plain bagel. Light cream cheese. No strawberries. Danielle looked at him, suspicious. How do you know I don't like strawberries? Victor hesitated. Aria mentioned it once. Last spring. You made her lunch when the chef forgot. She told me the fruit was switched. Danielle slowly took the bag. She also said you're the only one who knows how to do her hair without hurting her. Danielle said nothing. Victor placed the coffee on the windowsill beside her. I didn't bring this as an apology. Just breakfast. She took a slow breath. Thank you. The silence between them was calmer now. Less charged. But not yet warm. A nurse entered, checked Aria's vitals, smiled at Danielle, then paused when she saw Victor. They're asking for you downstairs, sir. Your legal team. Victor sighed. Of course they are. As he walked to the door, he turned back. I'll be back in 10. Don't disappear. Danielle gave him a dry look. Not planning to take another Ferrari. He smiled faintly. That's a relief. After he left, Danielle turned her attention back to Aria. She tucked the blanket higher under the child's chin and leaned back. Outside, the hospital lobby buzzed with media. Victor descended into it like a man walking into battle. Stephen Chow was already waiting, holding a folder with tabs marked in red. The internal footage leaked, he said. Garage camera. Shows her carrying Aria to the car. Victor raised an eyebrow. And? Stephen looked annoyed. Public sentiment has swung hard. Headlines now say, unsung hero, and guardian angel in uniform. Victor said nothing. Stephen added, you're losing narrative control. Victor finally replied. Or maybe it was never mine to control. Stephen stared at him. You're defending her. I'm acknowledging the truth. At that moment, a younger assistant rushed over, phone in hand. You need to see this. He turned the screen. It was a live stream. From a private Langston Estate employee account. The video showed Danielle, from the previous day, carrying Aria through the hallway, calling for help, knocking on the butler's door, getting ignored, then smashing the Ferrari glass box. The comments were flooding in. She's the only one who cared. Langston staff ignored a dying child? Give that woman a damn medal. Victor exhaled. Where did this footage come from? Anonymous upload, the assistant said. But it's authentic. Stephen rubbed his temples. We can't sue her now. Victor glanced at him. Wasn't going to. The assistant asked quietly, should we release a statement? Victor thought for a moment. Draft one. But honest. Stephen scoffed. Honest? In PR? Victor's gaze sharpened. Try it for once. He turned and headed back upstairs. In the ICU, Danielle was helping Aria sip water through a straw. The girl's strength was slowly returning. When Victor entered, Aria smiled faintly. Daddy. Miss Danielle told me a joke. Victor raised a brow. Oh. Danielle looked mildly horrified. It wasn't a very good one. I laughed anyway, Aria said proudly. Victor smiled. Then turned serious. Danielle, he said, stepping closer. I need to ask you something. She stood up slowly. What is it? I want to know everything. Who you reported Aria's condition to. What you said. Who ignored you. I want names. Danielle blinked. I'm not protecting anyone anymore, Victor said. And I'm not pretending everything was working when it wasn't. Danielle exhaled. I'll tell you. As they spoke, another nurse stepped in. Mr. Langston, she said. There's a woman downstairs. Claims she's Danielle's mother. Would you like her brought up? Danielle turned. My mom's here. Victor nodded. Of course. Bring her. Danielle was stunned. I didn't call her. I did, Victor said. She deserves to know her daughter's a damn hero. Danielle's eyes watered slightly, but she blinked it away. She returned to Aria's side. And Victor, for the first time in years, didn't look at her as hired help. He saw someone who had stepped where others fled. And he realized she wasn't just a maid. Victor Langston stood in the estate kitchen, arms folded, gaze sharp. The chef shifted uncomfortably across from him. I just thought it was allergies, sir. The girl didn't look that sick, the chef offered weakly. Victor didn't flinch. So you ignored her? I told the butler. He said he'd handle it. Victor turned. Whitman. The butler stepped forward. She mentioned a cough. Nothing alarming. We had preparations for the gala. And that took precedence over my daughter's health? No, sir, the butler said quickly. I simply didn't realize it was serious. Victor's voice was low. You didn't listen. None of you did. He looked between them. From now on, if anyone reports something about Aria, no matter how small, I want it written down, signed, and sent to me directly. Understood? They nodded. He didn't wait for a reply. He was already walking out. Down the hallway, he stopped the on-call nurse. I want the truth. Did Danielle raise a concern? The nurse, visibly uneasy, swallowed. Yes, sir. Twice. And? She wasn't high in the chain of care. I didn't want to question the butler's response. Victor shook his head. Not neglect. Not cruelty. Indifference. And it was rooted in him. At the hospital, Danielle sat beside Aria, brushing her tiny curls. Her mother, Miss Brooks, sat across from them, holding a paper bag. Soup. Still warm. She's just like Danielle at her age, Miss Brooks smiled. Bold. Stubborn. Always trying to fix everyone else's mess. Danielle chuckled. You make that sound like a good thing. It was, her mother said. Even when you tried to fix my blood pressure with lemon water and YouTube videos. Aria giggled. Victor stood in the doorway for a moment, then stepped inside. Ms. Brooks, he greeted. Thank you for coming. She stood and shook his hand. You have a lovely daughter. And from what I hear, a lot of cleaning up to do. Victor didn't argue. Danielle raised an eyebrow. Did you fire the staff? No. I started asking questions. Most of them didn't like the answers. Her mother looked at him. Danielle ever tell you why she didn't finish nursing school? Victor glanced at Danielle. She stayed silent. I got sick, Ms. Brooks said simply. No insurance. Danielle dropped out to work. Didn't want me to know. I found out a year later. Victor's jaw tightened. She never said. She doesn't like pity, her mother said. Danielle added quietly, and I didn't think it mattered. Victor shook his head. It matters. He turned to Aria. How are you, baby? Aria smiled. Miss Danielle's mom makes the best soup. Victor chuckled. Then maybe she should replace the estate chef. Aria's eyes brightened. Yes, please. That evening, Danielle returned to the Langston estate to pick up clothes. At the gate, a new security guard stepped forward. Sorry, ma'am. We need clearance. Danielle blinked. I live here. Name. Danielle Brooks. He checked his list, fumbled slightly. You're actually on the priority clearance list? Sorry, ma'am. Didn't expect that. Danielle gave a half smile. Neither did I. Inside, she packed quickly, clothes for Aria, some books, a stuffed animal. As she walked past the main hall, Victor appeared. You're back, he said. Just grabbing essentials. He nodded, then held out an envelope. This is your paycheck. And a bonus. Danielle frowned. I don't need a bonus. Victor didn't move. You earned it. I didn't do it for money. I know, he said. That's why I'm giving it to you. She took the envelope, then looked up. I might use it to reapply to nursing school. Victor nodded. You should. There was a pause. Then he added, if you need a recommendation letter, I write a decent one. Danielle smiled faintly. Do you even know where to send it? I do now. Later that night, Victor sat alone in his study. No jazz playing. No phone buzzing. He opened the personnel database and pulled up her resume. Danielle Brooks. Bachelor of Science, Nursing. Volunteer hours. CPR certified. Under references, one line stood out. My work will speak for me. He closed the laptop. It had. Louder than any PR campaign. Just before bed, his butler knocked. Sir, there was something left at the front gate. By a child. Victor followed him downstairs. A single sunflower lay against the gate. A folded crayon note taped beside it. Thank you to the lady who saved the girl. You're my hero. Jasmine, age 8. Victor held it in both hands. She had a name, he said quietly. And for the first time, he said it with full recognition. Danielle. The press conference was set for 10 a.m. By 9:35, the front steps of Langston Memorial Hospital were already packed. Cameras. Microphones. Journalists lined the walkway like vultures waiting for a signal. Inside, Danielle adjusted Aria's cardigan and tried to ignore the noise through the window. You sure you want to go out there? Her mother asked. Danielle nodded. He asked, I want to hear what he says. In front of everyone. Victor hadn't told her what he planned to announce. Just that he needed her to be there. That was new. At exactly 10 o'clock, Victor Langston stepped to the podium. No flashy intro. No polished PR rep beside him. Just him. He didn't wear a designer suit today. No pocket square. No silver cufflinks. Just a plain gray blazer, open collar. Thank you for being here, he began. I'll be brief. He scanned the crowd, then continued. 3 days ago, my daughter, Aria, suffered a medical emergency at home. Her condition was ignored by multiple members of my staff. One woman saw it, spoke up, and was dismissed. The crowd leaned in. That woman, Danielle Brooks, acted on instinct. She did what no one else would. She carried my daughter, drove my car, and got her to the hospital in time. He paused. Her actions saved Aria's life. Cameras clicked. Reporters scribbled. And yet, Victor continued, she was handcuffed in front of their entrance. Labeled a thief. Dismissed by police. Because of how she looked. Because of where she stood. He looked straight ahead. That ends today. Behind him, the glass hospital doors opened. Danielle stepped out, holding Aria's hand. The reporters gasped. Flashbulbs exploded. Victor motioned to her. This is Miss Danielle Brooks. She's not my maid. She's not my servant. She's not a criminal. He turned to face her fully. She's the woman who saved my daughter. And from this day forward, she will never be treated as less again. Danielle blinked. Aria squeezed her hand. Victor stepped aside, giving Danielle space beside him. But he didn't leave. Just stood there, with her. Reporters called out, Miss Brooks, what's your response? Do you plan to sue the estate? Were you scared when you took the Ferrari? Danielle took a breath. I wasn't thinking about the car. I was thinking about Aria. Another flurry of camera shutters. She needed help. And no one was listening. I would do it again. 100 times. One reporter shouted, Why didn't you call an ambulance? Victor answered before Danielle could. She tried. Our house phone system locked her out. That was my doing. My control. My failure. Silence fell. Danielle turned to him slowly. You didn't have to say that. I did, he said. It's the truth. The next day, Danielle walked into the estate, not as a housemaid, but as a guest. Victor met her at the door. No cleaning today, he said. She smirked. You planning to fire me again? He shook his head. I'm planning to promote you. Danielle raised an eyebrow. To what? To whatever title lets you stay and still apply to nursing school. Executive household manager? Family wellness coordinator. She laughed. Those aren't real jobs. I can make them real. Danielle crossed her arms. I don't need a title, Mr. Langston. I need time. For school. For Arya. He nodded. Then take it. She studied him. Why are you doing this? Victor didn't flinch. Because for the first time in my life, I saw someone do the right thing, even when it cost her everything. He added quieter, because you didn't give up on her when I already had. Danielle looked down. I don't know what you expect from me now. Victor replied, nothing. Except that you get what you deserve. That night, Arya sat between Danielle and her mother at dinner. Victor joined them, a plate in his hands, not brought to him, but one he made himself. Midway through the meal, Arya looked at him. Daddy? Yes, baby? If Miss Danielle goes to school, who's gonna take care of me? Danielle reached for her hand. You'll be fine. I'll still visit. And your dad will be there, right? Victor smiled. Every day. Arya narrowed her eyes. Even breakfast? Victor nodded. And bedtime? Especially bedtime. She turned to Danielle. You can go to school. Danielle grinned. Thanks, boss. The next morning, Victor made a quiet phone call. Is this the Fairview School of Nursing? Yes, sir. I'd like to cover tuition for a student, Danielle Brooks. No, she doesn't know yet. And I'd like to keep it that way. He hung up, smiling to himself. For once, money wasn't about control. It was about correcting something that never should have been broken. The footage was never meant to be seen. It came from a dusty hard drive in the security room of the Langston estate, one of the hallway cameras near the garage. The feed had been archived and forgotten. Until now. Victor Langston sat alone in his office, eyes fixed on the monitor. Malcolm, his head of security, stood silently behind him. Start it again, Victor said. Malcolm rewound and hit play. The video showed Danielle racing down the hall, Arya limp in her arms. She was yelling, but the audio didn't catch the words. Her face was pale. Desperate. At the corner, Whitman, the butler, stepped out and blocked her. Victor leaned forward. Danielle's mouth moved. She pleaded. She gestured to Arya. Whitman shook his head. His arms crossed. She tried to step around. He grabbed her arm. Victor froze. Danielle wrenched free and kept running. Seconds later, the camera caught the blur of red, the Ferrari, screeching out of the driveway. Victor sat back, jaw tight. You didn't tell me she was physically stopped. Malcolm exhaled. Sir, I only found this morning. We archive side feeds monthly. No one flagged it. Flag it now, Victor snapped. Publicly. You want it released? Victor nodded slowly. Let the world see what she was up against. By noon, the footage was online. Uploaded by the Langston Foundation's verified channel. No edits. No spin. Just truth. Within hours, it went viral. Langston Maid assaulted by butler while saving child. Danielle Brooks, hero or victim of systemic neglect? Ferrari escape wasn't theft, it was survival. Talk shows aired split screens. Danielle dragging Arya while a uniformed man blocked her path. Social media erupted. Hashtags, hashtag justice for Danielle, hashtag she saved her. Even late-night hosts weighed in. She drove a Ferrari to save a child, one quipped. That's not theft. That's Fast and Furious, domestic edition. Victor didn't laugh. He called his lawyer. I want Whitman dismissed. Immediately. He's already packed his things, the lawyer replied. Frankly, sir, I think he expected this. Victor didn't reply. He was already walking toward the guest wing. Danielle sat on the couch, laptop open. Arya lay beside her, half asleep, one hand still wrapped in Danielle's hoodie sleeve. Seen this yet? Victor asked gently. Danielle looked up. Her face said it all. You released it? She said. I had to. She closed the laptop. The press is going to eat this up. Let them, Victor said. They've fed on worse. Danielle stood. I didn't want a spotlight. I just wanted her to live. I know. She's still recovering. What happens if this makes her a target? Victor paused. Then I'll stand between her and the world. Danielle looked at him, longer this time. Even if the world includes people inside your house? Victor didn't blink. Especially then. The next day, a black car pulled up to the estate. Out stepped Gregory Blake, Langston board chair, media advisor, and Victor's oldest friend. You're trending worldwide, Gregory said as he walked through the foyer. Not just the footage. The press conference. Everything. Victor didn't flinch. You here to talk me down? Gregory raised an eyebrow. Depends. Are you planning to marry her next? Victor didn't smile. Gregory sighed. I don't care that she's a maid. I care that the board thinks you've lost control. Victor walked him into the study. I lost control the day my daughter stopped trusting me. I'm just trying to earn it back. Gregory stared at him. Are you in love with her? Victor didn't answer immediately. Instead, he said, she didn't ask for anything. Not money. Not recognition. She just asked to be heard. Gregory folded his arms. That's not a no. Victor looked him straight in the eye. It's a not yet. That night, Danielle received an email. Subject: tuition grant approval. She blinked. The message read, Congratulations, Danielle Brooks. Your full tuition and books have been covered for the Fairview nursing program. Welcome back to your journey. She gasped, then narrowed her eyes. Victor. She found him on the balcony, phone in hand. You paid for school, she said. He didn't deny it. I said I didn't want charity. It's not charity, he said. It's restitution. She crossed her arms. That's not how restitution works. Victor took a deep breath. Then call it gratitude. Or apology. Or maybe just me doing what I should have done a long time ago, believe in you. Danielle's voice was low. It's hard to believe anything when you're constantly dismissed. Victor nodded. You're right. He stepped closer. So let's start again. Danielle looked at him. Long and quiet. Then, for the first time since that terrible night, she said it out loud. Okay. Somewhere, miles away, a clip from the video played on repeat. A girl. A child in someone's arms. A red Ferrari disappearing into the night. And behind it, a man's reputation unraveling in full view. But for once, Victor Langston didn't care about the headlines. He cared about the woman who never asked for them. And the daughter who finally slept through the night. Danielle stood in front of the mirror, adjusting the sleeves of the navy blue blouse Victor had left outside her guest room, still wrapped in store packaging with a note. Dinner. 7 p.m. You deserve to be a guest tonight. Victor. She didn't want to overthink it. But she'd changed 3 times. Finally, she settled on the blouse and dark jeans. Simple. Comfortable. But still something that made her feel like more than a maid. When she entered the dining hall, she stopped. The long table had been set with white candles and sunflowers in a glass vase, her favorite. Not the grand, showy centerpieces the estate used for press events. Something real. Victor stood when he saw her. He wasn't in a tux. Just a charcoal blazer, no tie. Relaxed. You look, he paused, voice softer than usual. Beautiful. Danielle raised an eyebrow. Is this a dinner or a trap? Victor smiled. No traps. Just spaghetti and redemption. She smirked. That's a new combo. They sat. The room felt different tonight. No wait staff, no clinking of fine china in the background, no servers pacing like shadows. Just the clatter of a fork. And the giggle of a child. Miss Danielle. Arya burst through the hallway, wearing panda pajamas and socks that barely stayed on her feet. Are we eating spaghetti? Danielle turned to Victor. Miss Rosa let her sneak down, he said before she could ask. Apparently, you and carbs are more comforting than bedtime stories. Danielle laughed as Arya plopped into the seat beside her. I'll take that as a compliment. Victor leaned in. This might be the first meal I've cooked since college. You cooked this? I did, he said proudly. And only one small fire. Danielle tilted her head. Be honest. Did Rosa supervise? Victor feigned offense. I watched 3 YouTube videos and followed a recipe. I even bought a new pan. Arya twirled her spaghetti. It tastes good. Not like the burnt toast last time. Danielle snorted. Okay, now I believe you cooked. They ate, talked about Aria's favorite cartoons, and Victor's embarrassing college haircut. Danielle told them about the time she tried to make pancakes with salt instead of sugar. Her brothers never let her live it down. The conversation flowed like they'd done it for years. Not staff and employer, but something warmer. After dinner, Victor carried a drowsy Aria up the stairs, but she insisted Danielle tuck her in. Just for 2 minutes. In Aria's room, Danielle pulled the covers over her. The girl's voice was soft. If I have a bad dream, can I come to your room? Danielle brushed back her hair. Of course. She waited until the child's breathing evened out, then gently stood and walked into the hallway. Victor leaned against the wall, watching. She hasn't asked anyone that since Rachel died, he said. Danielle's voice was quiet. She's just a little girl. All she needed was to feel safe. Victor nodded. They walked back to the dining room together, now empty. Only the candlelight flickered across the linen. Danielle sat at the edge of the table. This was nice. Victor joined her. I wanted to do something different. It was, she said, different in a good way. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Danielle asked, What now? Victor didn't hesitate. You finish nursing school. You get everything you've earned. And if you'll let me, I'll support you through it. Not as a boss. Just as a man who finally sees the woman standing in front of him. She looked at him. That's a big offer. It's not charity, he said. I know, she replied. But I've lived my whole life being told to ask for less. To not expect too much. Victor stepped closer. Then this is the part where we stop listening to those voices. Danielle let out a small laugh. You're better at speeches than I thought. I've had practice. Apologizing lately. Later that night, Danielle sat in her room staring at the Fairview School of Nursing application portal. Her cursor hovered over the final button, Submit. She thought of Aria's small hands clinging to her at the hospital. Victor standing beside her at the press conference. Her mother's steady voice on the phone just hours ago. Don't waste this moment, baby. It's yours. She clicked. Submitted. Her phone buzzed. A message from Victor. Left something in the study. Just because. Danielle padded quietly down the hallway, barefoot. She pushed the study door open. On the desk sat a small box, wrapped in white paper with a single ribbon. Inside was a sleek, black stethoscope, engraved on the side. Danielle Brooks, RN in progress. She traced the letters with her thumb. Behind her, Victor's voice came low from the doorway. No matter what happens next, he said, you'll always be more than what this house tried to reduce you to. Danielle didn't turn right away. But when she did, her eyes met his. And she smiled. Not because of the gift, but because, for the first time, she believed it too. The call came at 8:12 a.m. Victor was in the breakfast nook, sipping black coffee and watching Aria build a pancake tower with strawberries and whipped cream. His phone buzzed. Mr. Langston, came Malcolm's voice from the gatehouse intercom. There's a woman here. She says her name is Helena Brooks. Victor froze. Danielle, passing through with Aria's napkin, stopped mid-step. She's my mother, Danielle said softly. Victor turned. Do you want me to let her in? Danielle hesitated. She hadn't seen her mom in nearly a year. The last time had ended in tears and slammed doors. But hearing her name now, spoken in this new world, felt different. Yeah, she said at last. Let her in. Helena Brooks stepped out of the car with the same quiet poise Danielle remembered from childhood, back straight, eyes sharp, mouth firm with purpose. She wasn't dressed fancy. A church blouse, pressed slacks, sensible shoes. But she carried herself like a woman who'd never begged anyone for anything. Victor met her at the entrance. Ms. Brooks, he said, extending a hand. Thank you for coming. She looked him over. You're the billionaire who gave my daughter the stethoscope, she said flatly. Victor blinked. Yes. And also the man trying to earn her trust. Helena didn't smile. Try harder. Danielle appeared at the doorway. Hi, Mama. Helena turned. And for a moment, her eyes softened. Hey, baby. They hugged. Not the tight kind. But not cold either. A bridge, cautiously rebuilt. In the sitting room, the three of them sat with tea. Arya had been ushered into the playroom with Miss Rosa. Danielle fidgeted with the edge of her sleeve. Helena sipped once, then placed the cup down with deliberate care. "I saw the video," she said. "All of it. The butler. The headlines." Danielle met her eyes. And I had two thoughts," Helena said. "First, why was my child in the middle of all that mess?" "And the second?" Victor asked. Helena looked directly at him. "Why didn't you stop it?" Victor took the hit without flinching. "Because I was blind. And because I trusted the wrong people to care for the right ones." Helena nodded once. "That's honest." Danielle sat forward. "Mama, I didn't plan any of this. I was just doing what needed to be done." "I know that," Helena said. "But it doesn't mean you don't need to protect your peace." Victor added, "She's been offered her place back at nursing school. Full scholarship." Helena raised a brow. "Paid by you?" "Yes." "Then let me be clear," she said. "I'm grateful you helped her. But don't think that buys you a seat at the table." Danielle smiled slightly. "Mama, I invited him." Helena looked at her. "And do you trust him?" Danielle glanced at Victor. Then back to her mother. "More than I ever thought I would." The rest of the visit was quiet. Helena stayed for lunch. Talked to Arya. Watched as her granddaughter clung to Danielle's arm like a lifeline. At one point, as Arya colored at the table, Helena leaned close to Danielle and whispered, "She loves you like her own." Danielle nodded. "I love her that way too." Helena's voice grew even lower. "And him?" Danielle hesitated. "I'm figuring that part out." Helena didn't push. She just squeezed her hand. "Don't lose yourself in someone else's castle," she said. "Even if the gates are wide open." That evening, after Helena had gone and the house was quiet again, Victor found Danielle in the study, staring out the window. "She's strong," he said. Danielle nodded. "Always has been." "Did I survive the interrogation?" "Barely," she teased. Then added, "But she doesn't hate you." "High praise," Victor said dryly. Silence fell between them. Then Danielle asked, "Do you really think I can do this?" "The pressure. The public stuff." Victor stepped beside her. "I've seen you fight for a child that wasn't yours. Speak truth when no one wanted to hear it. Run through fire just to save a life. If anyone can walk through the storm and come out standing, it's you." She looked at him. The man she once feared was just another suit. Now, he felt like a partner in the storm. "Thank you," she whispered. Then, before she could change her mind, she leaned forward and kissed his cheek. Victor froze, but didn't speak. Danielle smiled. "Good night, Mr. Langston." Then she walked away, leaving him standing alone in the study, heart thundering, cheek burning, and every guard he'd ever built slowly crumbling to the floor. The next morning, Danielle stood at the foot of the driveway. A duffel bag hung from her shoulder. Not heavy, just a change of clothes, her nursing textbooks, and the stethoscope Victor had given her. The gate stood open. Her ride to Willow Creek Community College would arrive any minute. And still, she hadn't told Victor. Behind her, the Langston estate towered in the sunlight, its walls no longer intimidating, but still large. Too large. She felt something behind her before she heard it. Leaving without saying goodbye? She turned. Victor stood in a gray sweater and slacks, hands in his pockets. Danielle managed a small smile. "I figured I'd be back before dark." "That's not what I meant," he said, stepping closer. He gestured toward the bag. "This isn't about a class. This is a decision." She looked away. "It's not dramatic. It's just the next step." Victor nodded slowly. "I know. I just wasn't sure if I'd be part of it." Danielle exhaled. "I didn't come here to stay forever. You know that." "Yes," he said quietly. "But I hoped you'd want to." A long pause. Then she finally asked, "What happens if I go?" He gave a half shrug. "Life goes on. Arya will miss you like crazy. I'll probably stare at your old guest room and make terrible coffee again. But you'll chase your dream. You'll become who you're meant to be. Danielle looked at the gravel beneath her feet. And what happens if I stay? His voice dropped. Then maybe I get to become who I'm meant to be too. Their eyes met. Neither moved. But something in the air shifted. Danielle bit her lip. Victor, I can't be someone's project. I won't be someone you save just to make up for past guilt. I don't want to save you, he said gently. I want to walk beside you. That's it. She turned back toward the road. The sound of tires grew louder. A small rideshare car turned the corner. She waved once at the driver. He gave a short honk and waited. Danielle looked back at Victor. I have to do this. He nodded. I know. But I'm not running, she added. Not from you. Not from this house. I'm choosing myself first. And I'll be right here, he said, hoping you choose us next. Danielle didn't respond. She just gave a faint smile, walked to the car and climbed in. Victor stood watching as the car pulled away. No dramatic chase. No last-second plea. Just respect. And space. That afternoon, Danielle sat in a small campus library, her laptop open, her notes spread out. No servants. No chandeliers. Just paper, coffee, and purpose. She was already halfway through her first pharmacology module when a text buzzed in. Arya, Miss Danielle, guess what? Daddy let me make toast all by myself, he watched, and I didn't burn anything. Danielle laughed. Another message followed. Victor, the toast was inedible. But I'm proud of her. And of you. Keep going. She smiled, shook her head, and typed back. Danielle, tell her I miss her. And that toast is overrated anyway. 3 weeks passed. Danielle barely had time to breathe. Clinical rounds. Late-night study sessions. Group projects. She worked part-time at a neighborhood clinic, doing intake forms and restocking medical cabinets. It wasn't glamorous, but it felt real. One night, as she walked home under the yellow glow of street lamps, she spotted a familiar black SUV parked at the curb. Victor stepped out. He didn't bring flowers. Or grand gestures. Just himself. Hey, he said. Danielle blinked. What are you doing here? I came to see you. At 10 at night? I had to be sure you were okay, he said. You didn't answer my text. I was working a double shift, she said. I don't get reception in the storage room. He stepped closer. Is it crazy that I miss you? No, she whispered. But it's not your job to check in on me. I know, he said. But I still want to. She stared at him. This man. Once a symbol of power, distance, and control. Now just a man standing in the cold, waiting for her to give him a chance. I'm not ready, she said honestly. I'll wait, he replied. Danielle crossed her arms. And what happens if I never am? Victor smiled. Then I'll still be proud of you. She stared at him for a long second. Then nodded once. Walk me home, Langston. He fell into step beside her, hands in his pockets. No promises. No declarations. Just footsteps. Side by side. 6 months later. The Langston estate hadn't changed much. Same manicured hedges, same marble columns, same endless driveway. But as Danielle stepped out of the cab, holding a slim leather portfolio under one arm, it felt smaller. Manageable. She wore scrubs now, navy blue, with her name badge clipped over her chest. Danielle Brooks, licensed. The gate had been open when she arrived. Malcolm must have recognized her on the camera. She smiled as she walked up the front steps and raised her hand to knock. The door swung open before she could. And there she was. Arya. Taller now, her curls wilder, her smile even wider. Miss Danielle. The little girl flew into her arms. Danielle barely had time to drop her bag before she was almost tackled. Arya clung to her like she hadn't let go in months. I knew it. I knew you'd come back. Danielle held her tight. I told you I would. Arya pulled back, breathless. Daddy's gonna be so happy. He doesn't talk about you, but he keeps your picture on the fridge. Danielle laughed. The fridge? It's a drawing I made, Arya explained seriously. In a cape. Because you're a nurse now, and nurses are superheroes. Before Danielle could reply, She heard footsteps in the hallway. Victor appeared. He froze. Their eyes locked. He looked different. Softer somehow. Same tailored shirt. Same quiet presence. But the guarded tension in his face was gone. He didn't speak right away. Neither did she. Then he stepped forward, slow and careful. "You're back." "I am." He glanced at the badge on her chest. "Registered?" She nodded. "Fully licensed. Passed with distinction." He smiled. "Big and real." "I never doubted it." Arya tugged her hand. Tell him the other thing." Danielle glanced down at her daughter in spirit, then back up. "I got hired," she said. "Cedars. Pediatric wing. First day is Monday." Victor blinked. "Cedars? That's the top children's hospital in the state. They offered me a residency after my clinicals. I thought about going somewhere else, but—" She trailed off. Victor stepped closer. "But—" She looked around the estate. Then at him. "I wanted to be close. To her. To you." Victor didn't respond immediately. "Then, are you staying here?" "Just tonight," she said. "If that's okay." He took a breath. "It's more than okay." She looked down. "I don't expect things to be exactly how they were." "They won't be," he said. "They'll be better. If you'll let them." Danielle smiled. And in that moment, something unspoken passed between them. Not fireworks. Not a kiss. Just a truth quietly exchanged. Arya tugged again. "Can we eat spaghetti tonight?" Victor laughed. "Only if Danielle helps. Last time I burned the sauce." Danielle raised an eyebrow. "Again?" "Hey," he said, holding his hands up. "I've mastered toast. Baby steps." That night, they sat at the kitchen island, laughing over overcooked noodles and garlic bread that was mostly crust. Arya talked nonstop about school, cartoons, and her new puppy named Noodles. Victor watched them both like someone remembering how to live. When the meal was done, Danielle stood and looked around. No maids. No tension. No secrets. Just warmth. "You still have that stethoscope?" he asked quietly. She nodded. "It's in my locker." He tilted his head. "You kept it?" "I almost gave it back," she admitted. "But every time I held it, I remembered who I was when I received it." Victor looked at her for a long moment. Then stepped closer. "I never stopped believing in you," he said. "But I needed to step aside so you'd believe in yourself." "I do now," she replied. "Good." He extended his hand. "Welcome home, Miss Brooks." She took it. Not as a maid. Not as a guest. Not as someone beneath him. But as an equal. A partner. A woman who'd returned, not because she had to, but because she chose to. And somewhere in the silence that followed, both of them knew. This wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. If this story touched your heart, if you felt something while reading this story, maybe it reminded you of someone strong, someone kind, or someone who walked away just to return stronger, let us know in the comments. Share where you're watching or listening from. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you never miss a story about resilience, love, and second chances. And if you believe dignity is worth more than status, share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Because sometimes, the quietest returns make the loudest impact.